Answers is what they tried to at least begin giving us in the previous episode, chalking down the importance and meaning of the clothing and the life fibers and everything, even down to as far as evolution goes. They really decided, let's just make this world and rewrite everything that the viewer themselves would know, or even the characters within it would know to be logical or make any sort of sense, and just put it down to the true core of everything. Because then you can't really complain, it's not a real world to begin with. And if this is like where it all stems from, you just got to kind of believe it, even if there is holes or anything within the general ideas of, how all this stuff could be potentially formed. You can't really find a better solution. So it just has to be the way it is. So hopefully now we can adventure a little further. But before then, we have a hold up, which is Ryuko having the issue with, her newfound feelings of Sengetsu being a living being with, his own ability to make his own choices and stuff, and to utilize them as some sort of weapon for battle, and solely that, it doesn't really sit too well with her, which is fair at the end of the day. It's like something I talked about in the previous episode, where there's been plenty of shows and different stories that have revolved around, say, like a robot or AI or some sort of extraterrestrial being or something, being something that's created with the sole purpose of it being used for military purpose or just battle's sake, not actually having this free will on their own, while somebody else is trying to prove that actually is the case or sees them for that, right? And we're stuck in that sort of area here, where Ryuko has to kind of either come to terms with, this is the creation and what Sengetsu is, or find a sort of solution that will allow the two of you to coexist and work in a way that isn't solely used in a way that would make him be completely destroyed and ruined by the end of this. And also the holdup of being, he still comes from a form of creation with life fibers and clothing just in general, so having to be the sole being in a way that goes out of his way and destroys all that's remains within this world of that, and having to, kill off essentially his own family members here. It's not in species, I guess we should say, maybe not family. It's probably not the greatest thing, it's probably not exactly what he would want either. So she feels a type of way about it. So the two of them likely have to reach some sort of conclusion and work towards it. I don't think he's going to be too bothered. I think he's plenty okay with understanding and trying to fulfill a purpose that has been laid out and set for him up to this point, and doing it alongside her, I think, would make him feel a little better. But I don't know. They're going to have to work through that, and they're going to have to do something to overall convince her and get her over her own sort of hump that she's stuck on here, to move past that and try and venture into, I guess, the betterment of the human race and the existence of it before potentially being overtaken by Satsuki and the family and all the life fibers and everything to begin with. So they could be in a weird spot. We're also in a spot with Satsuki coming in here and now having to figure out her own purpose of following and trying to take over, I guess, the family and what they're trying to do, but also probably having her own agenda and what she's working towards that may not go alongside with what her mother's after. There's some things we got to uncover still, so excited to see where we go. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you liked it, like and subscribe on to me. Feel free to stick around with discussion, limited comments. This sort of series is going with the 17th episode of Kill la Kill. Just normal conversation stuff. The end is near. I need you to lock in. Those of you who survived. Ooh. Let's go. It's so goofy but fitting at the same time. That's what we're building to. What can you even do? We got some Getsu, we're good. Thank you, Mako. I have not, then you cannot. Thank you. Stay logical. Put him on. Yeah. He's chill with it. You're not. I'm happy she was to just hold it. Well, that was resolved easily. Still gotta have some thoughts, though. I have a conversation with him. Yeah, I think it was smart for him to wait. I felt weird about it throughout the build up to it, but his reasoning made a lot of sense. You're training. Hey, y'all might have your differences, but he's got things to do. Ow. That's a big one to just drop on us. Yeah. Would make sense. But that's why he's so afraid of it doing something to you. Yeah. It also prevents his powers to really connect and work with somebody else if they got their hands on it. Part of the job. Covering the eyes still. No. I would have tried something new. You very much still are. You could be way more cold-hearted than you are. Aww. At least they gave him that. Alright. Get dripped out. Death penalty for the slightest. Oh god. Why are you up here? Alright, guts. Yes. Glad you noticed that.
マコが修学旅行に徴兵されたのは聞いた。他の生徒は帰ってきたのに、マコとリュウコちゃんだけは戻ってこない。これはどういうことだ？
That's fair. That's a fair question. What do you mean by that? No, no. We can't get much lower than we are. Till the end of that. If we do that, are we spared? First, let me lock in real quick. Lock in again. Of course, the most important parts. Alright, we're in. We'll see you at 8:30 sharp. Sounds good. Think you were gonna do that anyways. You better learn.
リボックス社の最高経営責任者として生命繊維を含んだ服を世界中に売りまくっている。
なんだピカピカ光って。
She is. She has her own theme music too.
人間の生命繊維への耐性を研究するため作られた極性服と、それを武力転用して全国の学園を支配し、
Yeah.
最も生命繊維への耐性の強い10代の若者たちに強制的に生命繊維入りの服を支給する。
That's what we've been doing since the beginning. You've been weeding them out.
集められた人間たちは生命繊維の生贄となる。
生贄？
ああ、生命繊維の完全覚醒のための実験だろう。
じゃあマコのおやっさんやおふくろさんも服に食われちまうってことか？
Yes.
わかりやすく言えばそうなるね。
服に食われる。
She goes back to sleep. Couldn't care less.
なんじゃねえ。んなこと許してたまるか。
龍国。
桐生院ラ行とサツキ、二人まとめてぶっ潰してやる。
Hold on. You struggle to take one of them out. Wish you think you'll do both.
重かろうが軽かろうが仕方がない。桐生院との喧嘩だけは蹴りつけないとな。
I mean, there's a whole stadium and everything. The final stage has been set, you know.
かわせるだけではない。自分の手で勝ち取らせた方がいい連中もいる。どういう経路であれ、いずれリボックスの服に着られることには変わりはない。
That's fair.
まだまだ今からだよ。明日我々は新たなるステージに立つ。カバーズ覚醒へのさらなる一歩だ。さすがはサツキ様。生命繊維に耐性の強い世代である10代の人間たちを見事に征服しました。
Got it. So that's her purpose.
力に酔わせることで生命繊維への抵抗をなくすとはよく考えた。真理はただ一つ。この桐生院ラ行が認めたものだけを美と呼ぶのだよ。明日は大文化体育祭だ。お前もしっかり着飾りなさい。私の美意識を満足させるようにね。
まったく娘が娘なら母親も母親だわ。
これは
No.
テーラーズダガーとテーラーズグローブだ。
マコのことよろしく頼む。
ああ、こっちで面倒見るように残ったメンバーによく頼んでいる。
置いてけぼりはないよ、リュウコちゃん。
She can still fly. Look at her.
さ、帰ろ
バー、本能寺学園は危険だ。
う。でもそこがうちだもん。父ちゃんや母ちゃんにお土産配るんだもん。
あ、こらマコ。
リュウコちゃんが行くならマコも行く。
Look how attached she is.
お前も言い出したら聞かなかったな。
It's a lot earlier of a build for a climax than I was expecting. I feel like there's got to be some more to.
裸の猿たちも餌に引っかかったようですね。隠しカメラを放置していた甲斐があった。最後の1ピースが。
I was gonna say, like, Bro got caught the moment he tried to do so. Like, why are they better at spying than he is, you know? Makes sense.
母様を迎える用意はすべて整った。諸君らの努力に感謝する。では、大文化体育祭の成功を大いに飲み食らい、桐生院をたたえたまえ。 本能寺学園大文化体育祭の開催である。
Let's go. Everyone's looking dapper. Got some great meals. Alright, smart.
太郎よく見たらあんた裸じゃないへへ礼服はとっくに売っ払っちまったよ
しまったその手があったか
Certainly an outfit. Curious to see what Nui got.
支配者は常に輝いていなければならないからね。
ご無沙汰していますおばさま
なんかお父様はお元気かね。
おかげさまで
その後ハッキングしての株価操作は
Of course. Why'd I ever give that up?
諸君ら
I thought she was gonna have a cool outfit. She didn't even change.
世界とは服である。生命繊維こそがこの世界の支配者だ。この私気流院ラ行はその意志を知り、
It's about to get bad.
本能寺学園はそのために作られた。力なき者はその礎となる。それだけでも光栄と思いたまえ。
何を言ってるんだね一応は
服を着た豚が
They're like, what are you even on about as you're about to get fully consumed? And has been awoken. Bro got away with it because he sold his shit.
急ごう
We're a little late.
DTR でステージまで一気に飛ぶ来い紡ぐ龍子君
道頓堀ロボか
DTR
道頓堀ロボだろ
We
DTR
don't have time for this.
その呼び方
こんな時に何こだわってんだよ
Don't leave all your stuff behind.
隠れてなおやつあげるから
DTR 飛ぶぞ
I can't wait to see what role she's gonna play in this. Silence. It's only a few.
素晴らしい静着だ。
そうはさせねえぞキリンサツキみんなを元に戻せ
Can we just press a button and do that, you think?
まとい流子か。
てめえ
なるほど。それがカムイ先決か。
まったく親子揃って上からのね
その通り。私こそこの世界のすべてを知る者。
Who do you think she gets it from, you know?
気流院ラ
Satsuki?
何のつもりだ
Yeah.
演説はそこまでだ理事長
I was waiting for the betrayal. Speak your mind.
今この時より気流院サツキと本能寺学園はあなたに反旗を翻す。
佐藤
そういうこと
What a turn.
奪うつもりか。いや違う。
That's different.
人は服のために生きるのではない。この気流院サツキ生命繊維打倒のために立ち上がる。
Awesome.
本能寺学園は貴様を倒すために作った私の城だ。
Just lay it out.
気流院ラ行
Some fun imagery there at the end. Color-wise, very reminiscent of the OP, so I think we're gonna get what I wished for last episode. And they all expected betrayal comes a lot earlier than I think I anticipated. A lot of the things built throughout this episode come in a different fashion and earlier, I think, than I was anticipating. So I think that's fun, and it leaves me curious what's gonna happen for the remaining, like, 6 episodes, because if we're just gonna have a fight for 6 episodes, that feels off, you know. So I feel like there's a little more that we have to figure out here and end up getting through. Probably one of my favorite episodes up to this point. Really, really awesome. Something about, it happens with a lot of other shows too, but something about when there's build up towards the climax and everybody knows it's the climax and everybody knows like kind of what's going to come. And it's pretty cool when you can do that. And it gets me excited when that happens as well. Like, it was pretty obvious we were going in the direction that Satsuki was going to do something to try and betray her mom at some point. And it was laid out the direction that her mom was like planning to take these things. And it's also laid out that Ryuko didn't really understand any of these scenarios, but just wanted to protect those that she cares about too, right? So everybody had something that they were fighting for, and they know this is the last chance and this is the moment where everybody's going to be connected at one point. So we have to make this count. And it's everything we've built up to this point, especially on Satsuki's end of all the conquerings and the things that we've done to have full control and power up to this point, all the testing that we've done and the altercations that we've had with somebody like Ryuko to get the data and the things that we need to create whatever it is and consistently evolve has all relied and brought us down to this one moment. So I think it was a fun, really fun build up to get us and to disguise it in the form of like a festival and some sort of thing and make it as goofy in a way that it is in typical fashion within the show. I think it does an excellent job at building directly to that. The Satsuki betrayal is fantastic. It came a lot earlier, like I said, than I thought, and in a different fashion than almost I thought. I assumed, you know, you get the typical like, let me pull my sword out on you and be like, oh, I'm against you actually, and then you have a full dialogue about what's going on and everything. But no, it's just when she's least expecting it, let's go up behind her and put a friggin' strike right through her. Like that's pretty cold, you know. That's pretty badass. And then to go off and express, you know, how you feel and what exactly it is you desire and you're after. Afterwards, as this person's bleeding out in front of you, especially being family member and your own mother as is, it makes it even more impactful. So pretty sick stuff overall from her. And it was nice to build up and have multiple references and things that we could directly look at from this episode that could indicate a little bit of Satsuki's own feelings towards herself and how we almost view her too, and the complexity that kind of makes her own being up a little bit. Talking about, you know, being a kind of cold-hearted individual in certain ways, or just not being like a very kind individual. And then having like a moment like this at the end, you know, shows that you got these motives and these things like this darkness within you that can kind of come out and through the worst sort of things that you can imagine, especially to family member at that. But then also have the other ends of it, right? Having the ability to not want to come out and be rude in any sort of way towards her butler for the tea that he like sort of makes, and being completely okay with it, and not really thinking too much and kind of enduring through the things that she doesn't actually like to make this other person pleased and happy and think that the role they're doing and everything is good, to reinforce the idea to the people under her that, you know, even though that they've lost in these previous encounters and things, she still sees and finds those positive outcomes, and there's still her people that she wants by her side at the end of the day, regardless of, you know, the outcomes of these fights that they're having against Ryuko, which also could, you know, just be fully a part of the fact that they were using it for research sort of purposes too. But at the same time, it just showcases a lot, like a typical like cutthroat leader that you are almost expecting. And I think that like she believes that she kind of is when she maybe isn't fully like that. It would just cut people off at first, like loss, or first like going against them in their orders in any sort of way. But we've had multiple points where she's told people to not get involved or not do certain things, and they have, and she just still has them by the side and still, you know, supports them in any way that she can. She's definitely very different, and it's the contrast that I've talked about with Nui and her at some point that leaves me curious, because Nui's a character that I don't know at all. I have zero prediction for the direction that we plan to go with her and her character, but we have like built something up of this like cold-blooded person on the inside versus a, you know, adorably cute figure on the outside, or Satsuki's kind of the opposite in the way that she upholds herself and presents herself to everybody else versus what we're almost seeing like beneath that that exterior image on the inside. So it's fun to be able to see that and then still have that version almost come out at the end here, and taking out her mom is great. I am left, it's one of those things, just because there's a huge hole in her doesn't mean that she doesn't have the ability to like regenerate or heal or be strong in any way. So I will hold off until we fully see that she's like dead, to be like she died, but we'll have to see. I'd like to assume she is already, but I don't know. I feel like there's maybe a little bit more. Maybe they want to give some more context and stuff into how she ended in the position that she actually did and where she came from and everything too. But they don't have to. I don't know if I'd even really want that. But we'll see. We'll see, I guess, what they ultimately decide to do there. And I am left, I guess, like questioning a little bit the fact that she just was full of herself, I guess, to the point that she didn't expect that something like this would ever happen and thought that she had her like in the palm of her hands here. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Maybe she was that deluded. I just feel like all the precautions and the things that are being taken by everybody else up to this point, especially on her own family's sort of end, wouldn't let something like this be a possibility. Like, it would have been something that had gone through her mind at least once and had at least like had some sort of preparation for it. So whether it's like an illusion type of thing, or she just let her do this because she could let her guard down and know that she was going to be safe at the end of it. I just feel like there's a little more to it. If there isn't, there isn't. And I guess it could just be chalked down to, this is the last person I would expect because of, they're my daughter and they're so close to me and they've just been following along and obeying everything that I did. So why would I ever expect that they would rebel in any sort of way? I guess could make sense. That's, the people closest to you, the ones that you least expect typically, I guess. But I don't know. I just gotten the vibe that everybody's a little too overly cautious to the point that they might not just let this happen. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess, what they decide to go. I guess I can talk myself into it regardless of the direction though, and what they want to go with there. And as I said, that for the most part is the whole build up to this. It's just put everything on the exterior, tell all these people this is what we have going on. We're going to build up and uphold us to this sort of status, right? We're going to create this stadium, and within it, we're going to have this beautiful arena for everyone to come in dressed extremely excellent and be extremely respectful and be, fully prepared to welcome her to begin the things that she is trying to do. But at the same time, we don't actually have to follow through on that, We're just doing this to uphold this sort of status or image so that she expects things as little as she possibly can. Mako's whole reasoning for why this is important and why she can't just strip and not have him involved due to the fact that it has to be somebody she loves is really funny. And then Sengetsu and Ryuko having that talk that they must have about where they each kind of come from and are feeling on this and what the future between them must hold. We find out a little bit that explains a lot about what happened here, a lot about what happened with the initial creation and the initial runnings and meetings that we actually had with Tsumugu and his warnings about, becoming like her and stuff. And while I think like initial and original assumptions, at least in my own end, always came down to like probably talking about Riko's mom or something along those lines, actually isn't the case and is fully on his own sort of family end with his sister and everything. So, of course, he has a strong spot for wanting to put a stop to this. And then also learning about the combination and the importance of Sengetsu being, having strands of Ryuko's own DNA and stuff kind of implanted within it to allow a sort of synchronization and connection between the two that is not possible, I guess, with any of the others, which could be, but likely due to her father's own split away from the company and everything. Probably they're not aware of the fact that you can even do this sort of stuff, would be my assumption, or never really thought of maybe doing that. And it directly does showcase why Satsuki struggles so much in her different situations. But I guess the previous encounter that they had and anything that they kind of obtained and understood, especially from him being like destroyed and put into like patches and stuff, could be something that they were able to analyze in that moment from the previous fight and then turn that into something where now she's able to connect and be one with her own into this upcoming battle that we're going to have. So I'm interested to see how Satsuki actually handles that and what the difference there is going to be. Talked a little bit about this conversation, but the overall importance that kind of came out of this. And I think so much too about like the things that we explore towards the end in regards to Satsuki and her betrayal here are very fitting, and it's something that I have discussed in the previous episodes, getting the backstory of those under her and being like, why exactly did they buy in instantly? Because they're not the type that seem like they would just fold instantly to the authority or power of others and be fully okay with following in the footsteps of somebody. And it had to be something that they almost omitted from this that we fully can't get or understand, that they were able to understand her story on another level or understand and see the big picture and the long-term goals of what she's trying to do. That makes them really want to buy in. And Gamagori is like the perfect example of that. Because like he is all here for like upholding, you know, the rules and obeying these sort of things. So it just didn't make much sense why he would do what he was. But I think it works so perfect now for being able to kind of like connect why all these people follow her and are so like view her in such high regards and are willing to fall kind of underneath her because they admire, you know, where she's came from and what she's kind of chasing after and what these goals are. It's why there was no flinching or like even anything like in their faces or changes at the end when, you know, destruction ends up coming to her mom. Like they were prepared for this. They knew what was going to go down. And these are why she kept them around so long and just kind of didn't do away with them, because they are her most trustworthy people and have been together for a long time. It's a really fun thing to be able to get. I love them coming in here and just being like, all right, where's my daughter? But also, is there gonna be food there tomorrow? Because I'll show up if that's gonna be the case. I love him just locking in for a single moment so we can ask these questions. Them tapping this and thinking that they're like up to something crazy. This didn't make much sense to me in the moment. You know, we already explored hacking and viewing of cameras and stuff at one point, to the point that like immediately those within like Satsuki and her family were able to figure out what was going on and track this dude down within seconds. Like, how the hell would you be able to spy on their own base and everything like this with no issue? So clearly it was very nice when they were acknowledged it a little bit towards the end, what exactly was going on and how their awareness of it was. Can't have all this stuff happen, so we have to go after. We have to fight. We're only getting started, and tomorrow is going to be a fun and big day. Nui's involvement in this, like I said, I still don't know, but I really would love to know, but I just can't. I can't figure it out. I got nothing on me. I don't know. And we have to do something with her. We're not just going to have her like fold and do nothing towards the end. So her own involvement at this point will be interesting. I do wonder if she is just her own sort of thing that like, I don't know, we can stuff like Satsuki's mother's like life, almost like her soul essentially into like Nui, and she's just being created as like some sort of vessel for moments and things like this that potentially could go down and happen. But the fact that she does freely operate and do her own stuff too is a little suspicious, I guess, on that part. So I don't know. I'm interested to see where they plan to go with her and what they do decide to do. Preparation, the most adorable thing. I got to give them all my stuff. I love Mako. More and more prep for the things to come. Tomorrow, we make history. It's a fun display. I love everybody being together and being so dressed up nicely. And here she comes looking like a clown at that. The moment that everybody comes in, we are able to consume and take them over. But it's not at all what we want until a big old betrayal and backstab decides to show its way through with Satsuki. We declare rebellion. She's not trying to take her spot. She's not trying to do any of that. But she has created her own empire, essentially, here, and the foundations for it. We will kind of enact and do the things as though we want to, which probably at first begins not letting people be controlled fully by the things that you're doing. And until you're out the picture, that's not going to happen. So we have to remove of you before we can get to that. I still don't know fully what I guess Satsuki's kind of after and doing here. Because like Ryuko's clearly all the way on, like, say, the left, for example. And Satsuki's mother's all the way on the right, for example, with how extreme that they want to each go with what they're doing. Well, Satsuki falls kind of in the middle, is almost where I feel like she should, at least. I don't love the idea as much of her maybe falling fully in line with what Riko's kind of doing and going after. I guess it would make sense to build us all the way through because she has to do these things for kind of just getting on her mom's good side and making her not recognize exactly what they're doing for her own trick of that, I guess, to come out and do this. But this does feel early. I mean, we are 17 episodes in now out of 24, so to do this now and then just have it all be done, like, doesn't really make much sense. So I'm still assuming that we are at odds almost for what her own goals and plans are versus Ryuko's, and that kind of puts them like almost in the middle where she aligns a little bit and she doesn't want the stuff to be fully overtaken and do that, but she still does want to run like her own sort of thing and have full control in a way, but just not in a similar way of like her mom maybe. So I don't know, we gotta explore that a little bit more and figure out, but still really cool that she was able to come out and actually do this. Awesome episode. Excited to see what's to come. We still have a Ryuko Satsuki battle to likely happen. We do have to figure out what happened, if her mom is fully gone or not yet, and then Nui has an involvement that we haven't really picked up all the pieces on, that I still have plenty of questions in regards to. So a few episodes to hopefully figure all of that out. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you liked it all, like and subscribe on to my, feel free to check out the video channel, leave a comment. This is a series. We'll be back for the 18th episode very soon. It was a great one though. Peace.